So I have a few questions to start with today. Let me just make an app.js over here. I'm just creating an app.js and will be just running that for some time. So my questions, I need some answers from you people. Have you people discussed XML HTTP request before? XML HTTP request, have you used that in your 222 before? Like if I'm asking discussed, it means that this has been discussed as a topic. Okay. And one thing another, that you people, this is, I'm sure that you have discussed promises in your web 222, or maybe we have discussed that in 322. I don't remember. Okay, so Alex, was it here in this course or it was before this one? Okay, excellent. We have discussed that part, because I'm just taking feedback. I'm taking 2 or 3 courses. I don't remember that what I've discussed with you people. Okay, right. So you don't know about XML HTTP request. This is something very interesting that I want you people to start with. The whole idea is, if you know about that, the whole idea is asynchronous programming. Asynchronous programming. So are you people familiar with this asynchronous word and asynchronous programming in general? What do we mean by that? Asynchronous programming, when we say okay, so anyone else? Alex is smiling. Okay, Karthik says no. Okay, Alex, can you come up with a one-liner definition of asynchronous programming or something, maybe in the writing? That what do you think that asynchronous programming is? What do you feel? I presume that, okay. Can you just unmute yourself and discuss it with me? No problem. Unmute. That will be more help. Like, again, because speaking is always good.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. So asynchronous programming is basically running some code which won't be sequential, and you can just piece together different parts of code, and each one will run at its own time.
Run its own time. Okay. Can you just please elaborate a bit more? What does that mean?
Yeah, so you can like run some code. For instance, if we are talking about the XML HTTP request, you can create that request and it will, go away somewhere to the server and make the request. And meanwhile, until you get the response, you can run different code. And when the other code comes back, then you will execute it. A promise is also a good example. You can run something and only after it's done, you're going to run the code that's in the then part of your promise.
That's excellent. So, okay, yes, that's excellent. Thank you very much for letting us know that. First function. I'm just giving you a quick example of this asynchronous and all these things. So I might need you again, Alex, sometime a point to unmute yourself, and we'll discuss that one. So this is my one function. This is my other function, function 2. Sorry, not done. This should be 2. Okay, so first function, and this is second function. Second function, and now let me just make one more. So 3 functions. So it will just make that concept maybe a bit more easier. So this is our third function. So now you see here, everyone, I'm just talking to everyone, and as I said, I will be talking to Alex some point of time again. Now, if I call this one function, first of all, and call this second function 2, and then call this third function, and I'm right now running it with my node, and that I want to just show the output quickly. So if you see that if I run this node app.js, so you see that I am getting all these 3 functions over together. No big deal. In the proper sequence where they have been required to run, they are running over. Now the thing is interesting, very interesting thing. If I just come here and run a loop, and run this loop to maybe 5,000 times, right? 5,000 times. I want this loop to run. I am understanding that you people know this very, very well. And I'm just printing I over here. So listen about that, everyone. I'm about to discuss async programming, or maybe why do we need that, or what is the implication? Why do we just talk about that? And anyhow, So if I now run my code, you see that I have got three functions being called: function 1, function 2, function 3. And I've used a very basic method of running a function for some point of time, because running from 0 to 5,000 requires a good amount of time, like few seconds, that it will run. So now let's run our program and see what happens. Oh, unexpected end of input. Yeah, did I do something wrong? Syntax error. Oh. Bracket of first function. Ah, excellent. That has gone away. Thank you. Thank you very much for letting me know. Now you see here what's going on. And we have to just wait for some time. Now, first function is still executing, and my second and third function, they are waiting in my stack. Does that make sense to everyone? Like, second function has executed once all the things from the first function have been done. Does that make sense to everyone? What's going on again? That first function is executing and the second and third functions are waiting. Maybe this second function had nothing to do with first function. So why in the world this second function is sitting there and waiting the first to complete its functionality? And same goes with the second one. If the second one is also running for the 5 seconds or maybe 5,000, it is also printing 5,000 numbers, for example. So see what happens. First, my first function will complete its 5,000 round. And you see that there will be a simple jerk after 5,000 and we'll get second function. This is the second function now started. Now the second function is running. And you know what wrong has done by third function, who is just kept on waiting for two functions to execute. What is this behavior? Now, Alex, I want you to just again be unmuted for some time. What is this behavior? Is it a synchronous behavior or asynchronous behavior?
Hi, so this is a synchronous behavior, synchronous, okay? So just,
Yeah, okay.
You know, you run function after function after function.
Yes. And wait for the previous function to execute, to end before I can do anything. So it's like, we have called three functions, and this three function, its turn is coming after maybe 10 seconds. Why? Because the first two functions are taking so very long to run. This is called synchronous programming or synchronous function calling. Now, in JavaScript, what we do, that we try to make asynchronous programming in a way that if one function starts execution and second function has nothing to do with the output of the first one. There are different scenarios. The first scenario is it has nothing to do with the output of the first function. So why in the world this function 2 is waiting for this to happen? The function 2 should right away start its functionality. Maybe does not wait for it to just complete something. Make sense for everyone? So to make that happen, we do what is synchronous programming. Sometimes in that way, sometimes, yes, I want this function to never execute before function 1. Wait for that. That also is one of the scenario that we might use, right? So asynchronous programming tells us that we are basically trying to control the execution of functions. For example, if this function, like function 2's execution, does not depend anything on function 1's execution, why in the world function 2 is waiting for function 1 to complete? And if yes, that depends upon this function 1, this should never be called before that one. Let me give you a very interesting real world example, another example, and I hope you will understand that. So you understand this example first of all? Now let's talk about another example. So if I say I'm just making an array of objects, for example, and I say title post 1, I'm just making some posts, right? Post 1, and the body is this is post 1. You'll see that what I'm talking about. You'll just enjoy that one. So I just created one array of object. Now I'll just create another post over here and just copying and pasting this one. So this is post 2 and this is post 2, right? So I've created two posts out of it, and I hope you people know about this is array of objects. You would have worked this in array of objects a lot of time. It's an array of objects. An array posts maintaining the objects, like all those objects over here. Right. So now I want to create a function, create post, that will create a post for me, and it will accept a post. So I'll pass it a post, and what I'll do is that I am doing something like this: set timeout. Are you people familiar with the set timeout function? I am expecting that you people are familiar with that. So here I am calling a function inside that one, and also, you know, set timeout, we provided some timing over there. So if I say 3 seconds, so I want, you know, we have worked on this set timeout function. I want this function to run after 3 seconds, right? I want this function to run after 3 seconds. I have done something wrong. Yeah, I've done this wrong. This arrow will not be here, like this parenthesis should be over here, right? It has come inside that. You understand, everyone? I want this function to execute after 3 seconds. Now what this function will do, it will just take the posts and push the post inside that one. Nothing else, no big deal. Understand, everyone? This is a create post function. Now there is one another function that is used to read the posts, get posts. Now get posts does what? It also uses a set timeout function. Again, I want to just, you know, set some timeout for that as well, and I call a function over here, and after this function I say after 1 second this should execute, right? 1000. So now what I want in this function, for example, I want in this function to be just doing what, posts dot for each. I just want to run a for each loop over here, and if you remember, for each accepts a function for every value of post. So I will again take out one post and tear that apart. And what I want to do over here, maybe just I want to console, because I'm not using the HTML part. I might use the HTML part later on, and I want to print here post dot body. I'm going very fast with this understanding that each one of you are understanding everything. Am I understanding, like assuming correct thing? After Karthik's, yes, Karthik and Armin, are you getting what I'm saying? This set timeout function and this post and this for each, everything that we have just covered, you know, somewhere in the 2.2 or 3.2. Okay, so for each, just for every value of the post, go and print post.body. I want to just print the body of that. Now see here, interesting. First of all, I'm just calling get post just to show you what is going on. Get post. I'm calling this get posts. So I run that one. So I have, this is post 1, this is post 2. And if you see that it has taken, for example, I've just called the get post. It has taken 1 second to produce the output. So you see that jerk was, let me make it 2 seconds. It will come after some more time. You see 1, 2, and now this is running. So I'm just accessing the post, and you know there are 2 posts over there. Everyone understand that? Now if I come over here and I say create post, is it create post or post? Create post, and I am passing a post to it, and I'm calling this post 3. Post 3. Everyone getting that? Now I am making it not 2000, again 1000. I want create post to take 3 seconds and get post to take 1 second. Right? Now let's run this program. So again, what our idea says, this post should be created, post 3, and it should be pushed into this one. Why? Because we are doing that pushing over here. So this post should be pushed over here, and then after pushing this post, what should happen when I take the get posts? I should get all 3 posts printed. Alex, will I get all 3 posts printed? Because I know you should understand whether we'll get the 3 posts or not. No. Excellent. How about others? Armin, and you understand that whether all 3 posts will appear and get posts, or there will be only, maybe, I don't know, 2 or something like that. Any idea, Armin and Karthik? Just taking your idea to know if you are reaching there, or if you are trying to understand that. Anyhow, no answer, no problem. So you see here, I do not have post 3 now. Okay, this is a question to you, Armin or Karthik. Do you understand why post 3 is not coming, which I have freshly created over here on line number 46? This post is not coming as output. when we are taking this get posts? Reason. I don't need reason from Alex, by the way. Because it's constant. Oh, Arvind, please make concept very clear. When I create its const even, the variable, or the thing that I've created, it becomes constant, but the content of it can change. It's a very interesting concept. I don't want to go into that one, but if you feel it that way, I can do it for you, right? So now is it is it now something acceptable? Var. So now your argument is gone, and it should still do the same. You see here, post 1 and post 2, there will be no post 3. Arvind, thank you very much for replying. This is a very good answer. But of course, you see that it's not the case. If you have created a const post as an array or something, an object, please remember you can change the content of it. It's not a single constant value, it's an array value. It cannot change from an array, but it can change its content of array. I don't know if I made this point clear, but anyway, I'll let you know that point later on sometime. Yes. The other one was Kartik, I think. Kartik, do you have any feedback why this post is not coming? Why I am not getting 3 posts rather than I'm getting 2 posts? Okay, no problem. Alex, can you give a one-liner why this get post is not printing 3 posts? Rather, it is printing just 2 posts? A quick answer, because this is a very quick answer. It should be a one-liner, not more than that. Okay, and that is taking 3 seconds. You see, now please listen, everyone. And this is very important for everyone. Create post takes 3 seconds. Yes, exactly. Create post takes 3 seconds. So it's in the memory doing something, trying to find something, like trying to create the post. In the meantime, 1 second has elapsed. You see what is happening? So my compiler is not waiting for this to happen. It starts the initialization, create post, and goes to the second line, get posts. And this first line is taking 3 seconds. 3 seconds. Now the 3 seconds are not over before the guest post is called. Kartik and the other one. You understand, Arvind? That this runs in 1 second. So it quickly goes there and trying to find out read the posts, and the post which is come back are not 3, rather they are 2. Why? Because the get post is called before this execution is completed. Excellent. How to solve this problem? Maybe over here. If I want to solve it over here, do you people remember we talked about callback functions? If I just change this code to a little extent, see here, line 32, I've gone here and I say that it will also accept a callback function. Question again, have you studied callback function in, I think I discussed that callback function some time back. I don't know. In this course, I discussed that callback functions, I think. Yeah, okay. So callback function, I'm saying that it will accept a callback function and it will run a callback function, right? So it will accept a function and run that. Now this create post is changed. Now syntax is changed. Now get post will not be called over here. Rather, I'm saying when everything is done, then you call get post. Like again, sorry, not without arrays, without function signs, we give it over here. So get post will be passed over here. So it means unless this post is posted, unless create post does this post dot push, this callback will not be called. And what is the callback in our scenario? It is get posts. Get everyone? Save this one and now run this. Now there is no post 1, post 2. Rather, we are taking 3 seconds. And after 3 seconds, we are served with all 3 posts. Kartik and Armin, makes sense to everyone? Now it is doing what? After execution of this post, yes. Yeah, exactly. So we are waiting for 1 more second because get post also taking 1 more second. So it might be taking 4 seconds. You are right. But again, that is doing what? That is coming up with most accurate data over here. The data is most accurate over here. Why? Because of course, all of those functions are taking what amount of time we have given to them. Right? So this is one way of explaining something happening in background, something we are trying to control by ourselves. So here I did not want to call this get post once create post is done. So for that way, I'll have to use maybe a callback function over here, or I will just about to tell you something interesting that you will enjoy XML HTTP. So now to make asynchronous request to the web, there is one thing that we have. So which is called, if you effectively see, which is called the XML HTTP request. Right, so XML HTTP request. There is something called an XML HTTP request. What is that XML HTTP requests? As I said, XML HTTP request. This is a bit older method of getting something in background, not halting the main screen, not halting the main screen. So I want something to happen in the background, not halting the main screen. What does that mean? I'll just quickly show you what I want to do over here. Right, so just run that. What I'll do is that I'll just create an HTML file over here as well, because I will show you that in HTML happening, right? So I want to show, or maybe I want to make, for example, let's connect that one first of all, script src app.js, and let's create h1 testing XML HTTP request. Right, and let's make a content as well for div, and let's give an ID of content. Right, I'll put my content over here. Right, so I'll talk about this one. So this is one HTML file that I want to, and now if you want to run that, there are multiple ways. There is one live server as well, if you have ever used that. So you can just always look at that. Testing XML HTTP request, content goes here. So I would like my contents to be coming over here, right? So now if I come over here, and what I do is that first of all, I'll just capture both of the HTML content, like okay, I have not used a button. Maybe let's make a button as well that will bring up the data. So let me give it an ID of button, and click me to get data. Okay, click me just enough. I don't want to make a very long button. So you see, click me to get data, or click me, and I will just bring up the data from the background. My UI will not be changed. So asynchronously, I want to do something. So now to do that, first of all, let's again, as I said, let's first of all capture the button. So we can capture the button by get element by ID. And what is the ID button? I've given it button ID, right? I want to attach an event listener to it. And what event listener? I want it to run on click. And maybe then let's create a function called load data. Right? So I'm just creating function load data that will run once this will happen. So now listen about that. Now I'm about to start this XML HTTP request, the background request, the asynchronous request that would not halt my web page. Now see here, first of all, we create that request, XHR equal to new XML HTTP request. So now, first of all, step number 1, create the XSHR request, like object. Create the object of request. I've created an object, XHR. I've called it XHR. Step number 2, set up the values for it, like configure it. What I want to get some data. Usually we put it in the caps, but you can put it anyhow. Right? I want to get some data. And let's say I want to get data from data.txt, which I have not created. I'll create that short now. I want to get some data, and for this one, I'm saying data.txt. I'm creating a file. I am some data from data.txt, right? So I want to bring that data into it. So you see here, I have just configured the request. After configuration, in sequence, what we do xhr.onload. Now, if you know about the onload theme, what is onload? Onload function runs once a request is successfully, when the request comes back. when you request something and request comes back, onload function will execute. Onload on your load of your request. So if I show you, this is the next step, and the real step to initiate the request is xhr.send. It will initiate our request. Now in sequence, if you say this is step number 1, this is step number 2, by the way, this is step number 3, by the way, because why? From here it will be initiated, and this will be our step number 4, but we usually write them in this same sequence. It won't work if you just make it after the sending. So this send will work, and when the data will be received, this onload function will execute. So far so good, everyone understand? Now here we need to check the status of the request, whether it was successful or not. So you know how to check that? This dot status equal or maybe triple equal 200. You people remember status response? What is 400 response other than Alex? What is 400 response? If I get 200 response, it means successfully received the data. If I say the response has come as 400, what does that mean? Kartik or anyone? Okay, bad request or data not received. Yes, you are right. That's excellent. So now we are just doing what? We are checking that whether data was successfully received or not. And if that is successfully received, first of all, not console, I want to put that data into my content area. What was the content area that we have defined? This div ID is equal to content. So should I get that one as well? So let's take that in any another variable. My data is equal to document dot get element by ID and content, right? So what I want, if the data is successfully received, do what? Do an interesting thing. You do what? My data dot inner text equal to this dot response text. Make sense to everyone? If the data is successfully received, so what is this response text? Response text is the text that comes back from the HTTP request. Status is the status property which comes back with the request. So we check with this again, the generated contextually generated request, that if this status is 200, it means data was successfully received, right? So if it is successfully received, make my data dot inner text. What is this my data? My data is my content div. You remember, you can call it my div as well. I'm taking that div data and printing that into so into my data dot inner text, just go and print that this dot response text. I hope that makes sense to everyone. Yes, exactly, Alex. I will use that. I'll use that. You are right. So this will bring up the. There are lots of websites that bring up that one, and I'll talk about that as well. So I'm just right now talking about this data.txt. You are right. There are lots of websites that will provide you that one as well. But let's go step by step, right? Alex I'll be going step by step. So now if I click on this one, you see this data is coming from my file, right? So actually what we have to discuss the fetch API, by the way, Alex, we have to discuss the fetch API, by the way, and there I will use this API, the endpoint that you have used. I'll use that. Okay, so you see here now, everyone, please make a sense. Do you understand what is going on? The data has been received. Now the same thing, as Alex has mentioned, can be done with another type, data.json. I can create a data file with JSON extension, and this data.json, what is the type of JSON data? You remember, we have talked about that. So maybe JSON data is something like this: ID is equal to 1, name equal to Alan, right? And maybe whatever, age equal to 30, whatever. So this is one record that we have, and let's maybe just put something randomly, school equal to Seneca or something. You see, I've created this JSON data. Understand everyone? This is called the JSON data. Now I want to bring up that JSON data into my file. So if you come back over here and you just change this data.txt to data.json. Nothing else I'm changing right now. Just doing that one. Does that make sense to everyone? Now if I run that, again it's refreshed already. If I click on that, do I get the JSON data over here? Everyone is getting that? That's excellent. That's excellent. Right. So now, if I want to access a particular field of this data, what was our data.json? ID is equal to 1, name is equal to. If I want to print the name of the Alan, yes, anyone, would I be able to do that by using this way? For example, if I come over here and I say var anything, rack1 record 1 equal to, or maybe var records, rat, not writing record might be this DOS response text. You know what I'm saying? I have received this this all data into our variable rec, because this is one record only. So if I say rec dot name, will I get the name of that data? And if yes, if no, why no? Let me just run that. Of course, I hope you understand, some of you, that it would be undefined. Why it is not coming? Those who know the answer can give a smiling face. Why it is not coming over here? So smiling face, I can understand. Why it is not printing that rack.name? I want to print this rack.name, but it's not coming up with that rack.name. Arvind, Karthik, can you just explain me what's happening? Just want your feedback on that. Yep. So remember one thing, we cannot access JSON data in this format. We need to convert JSON data into something called the simple object literal notation. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. See here, if I just do this line for a minute and I just remove that and I put it to the same old position, this DOS response text. I'm just printing up the response text directly. Directly you can print all the data. You see here, all of them is coming. But you know, the original form of object that you can access is not like this. It's something like this. Var obj. Okay, I have that stored in the memory. So if I say you, so Karthik, can you tell me what is the difference between these two objects? This is one object and this is one object. What is the difference between these two? So remember one thing. Here, what is mentioned is basically a, you know, JSON data. Exactly. And this is object data. So in this object data, I can do this like this, name. It will come up with that ln. But in this record, I cannot do that. For that, I'll have to convert this data into JSON first. You see here, I have to convert that data into JSON. And how to convert that data into JSON is an interesting thing. Let me show you. JSON dot parse is the method that converts this received JSON data into object notation form. And now what I can do, I can say rack.name. Will I get that? Hopefully. Why didn't I get that IntelliSense? Anyhow, let's check that. Oh yes, I'm getting that. I don't know why I was not getting in the IntelliSense. You see, now I can get this ln, or now I can get, maybe if you want, rack dot what were the other fields that we have defined? School, for example, rack dot school. So I can get all these two things in my output now, because now I have got this this data converted into JSON. You people understand what I'm doing in line number 59? Converting the received data into object data, object filtered form, before accessing individual fields of it. I hope everyone is making sense out of it. right? Everyone understands that? And same ways as like, you know, you were talking about, who was that, like Alex give us you are like, you know, an endpoint. Let me just use that endpoint. So, you know, other than data.json, just go over here and I'm pasting the endpoint, sorry, provided by okay, so it's not allowing me, it does not allow us to just, you know, copy and paste from this one. Interesting. Yes, you're right. That's excellent. You can do that. But format, so you are getting that format is equal to text. Yeah, right. Yeah, you're right. Makes sense. And I will just put that into my file over here. And not only that one, rather I'll change the type of it as well. Format is equal to, for example, I am bringing up that in the JSON format, right? And let's now run it. Oh, NaN. Why it's not working, Alex? Why it's not working? Okay, it does not exist. No problems. We are not concerned with that. I have another API that I'll use, by the way. RackRes. We are not you know, dwelling with it. RackRes.in. Okay, joke property. Okay, yes, you are right. Yes, you are right. I was not using the right properties. Yes, you're right. Anyhow, okay, just let's do that. JSON and inner text is equal to rack.joke. Yes, you're right. You're right. That's what something I was making wrong. Yes. Okay, Chuck Norris for anyhow, this is a joke that you can understand, right? So the joke property had to be accessed. So we can use any of this any of this, you know, thing. So, you know, the concept, what is the concept? You know, Alex, what is the real sense we want to know? Our page is not refreshing all, rather this request is made in the background and always coming up with a random joke, some other random joke. Everyone getting that? This is the asynchronous sort of request that is being made over here. Everyone makes sense for it? So this is XSXHR request that you can just use. Excellent. Now I will tell you the more modern way of doing that. There is more modern way of doing that. More modern way means the one that we have to talk about over here. We have to talk about here about something, not Axios. We are talking about, yes, that is more the most maybe the most modern way of that. But now we will be talking about Fetch API. Right? Fetch API we are talking about. So Fetch API is very interesting. First of all, let's check what this Fetch API does. So I will use the same URL that we used with that one for. So fetch, for example, we will just, you know, look for the method get, and the second one I'm just giving it this one, and let's see what comes back. I'm consoling that what fetch returns. Right? So I have just used this console.log to check it over here. Okay. Did I use the wrong syntax for the fetch? Fetch is not defined. Okay. Fetch is not defined. Excellent. Okay. Just take out the get method for the time being. Just use this. Let's see if it comes up with something. Oh, still says fetch is not defined. fetch is not defined. Excellent. It's not understanding the fetch API. Oh, great. Okay, trying not fetch. We'll do that. I know that fetch. Okay. Let me do that, but not really. Why are you saying that? You have installed node fetch. I don't need that node fetch. Fetch is, it's something that should work without for our online thing. I don't know why it's not. Maybe there's some other reason behind that. I don't need to install anything for that fetch, right? Listen about that. Okay, let me just check my own URL. And by the way, it's not something with URL, by the way, but let's see. There is a fetch API request. Let me just run that. See if that's quite interesting. Running it from Node, not as HTML. Anything is an issue is just run the HTML file. Okay. Maybe you are right. Maybe you are right. And let's see the console. Oh, yes, you're right. Thank you very much. Actually, this promise will be coming in this console, not this console. You're right. Thank you very much for finding that out. Okay. So, what is happening is that so the question or the thing is that we want to say that it returns with a promise. And promise is something we have already talked about that. But today we'll see that how we can just, work on a promise and how we can just bring out the data from the promise and how we can work on that. So this is one interesting way of that that a fetch request basically comes back with what? With a promise. So if you want to work on that, we'll need to just, work with that one. So now let's talk about something. So if I'm using a fetch request, again, this fetch is also used for bringing up something in the background. So I am using my own one for the time being, recres.in/API/users, right? So if it is returning a promise, you remember, if something is returning a promise, we use a then. And I want to run a function inside then. I want to run a function inside then. And the function that should receive the data which has been sent by the request, fetch request. You understand? The data will be coming from the fetch request, and I have to just check that whether the data successfully is received or not. So what I'll do here, the same thing, data.status or something. Here we can check with data.ok. If the data is okay means this okay status also tells us that data has been received successfully or something has successfully been happened. So console.log successfully received the data, right? Else. So else, what we are saying, for example, we say throw new error. We are just generating an error from here. You can generate an error from by yourself. Something wrong here, not received, or some bad thing has happened during the request, right? So then is covered. Then is covered. We have said that, for example, if this is happening, then this one. Now there is one more thing remaining. You remember catch. If there is a problem, what will happen? So in catch also, I want to run a function. I'll say error, right? Console.log not received, and also let's put up that error over here, right? So I'm just giving you an overall picture of this fetch. First of all, just save that one and run that one, not through the node, rather to this one. So if you see, it says that successfully received the data. successfully received the data. Is that right? So what is happening over here? If you see that you have used an API, I have used an API endpoint from where I want to bring up some of the users, and the data has been successfully received over here. And if I want to print that data over here as well, so let's see console.log, and I say, for example, data. I want to print that console.log data is over here. So let's run that one and check what happens. You see that response is coming over here, and it says that it has certain headers, it has certain URL, it has a body, and body is a readable stream. Body is a readable stream. What I need to do to read this body, Alex? I want to read the content of this body, the request which has been received, the data which has been received. I want to read the body of this data. How I will be able to read the body of this data? What is that function? No, not read as promise. I want to read it as a normal data. How I would be able to read this as a normal data? Yes. Yes. So let me show you JSON. If I'm not wrong, but let's check that one. Data.json. Yeah, you're right. So it has been coming as a promise right now. Yes, .json. Right. So this is basically now it is telling us that this is the data this is received is basically a promise. Now I have given you a quick introduction of asynchronous programming and all that. This fetch API which is over here, you can just go through. So these you see here, these are the functions over here. Response.text, which can use to read response stream. This method returns a promise that will resolve into a text. Right. So response.text will give us the response of text. So if I come over here and if I say data.text, let's see if it comes up with the text that we want. Okay, it's still coming as a promise, and it's not resolving into text. Okay, just hold on a minute and let's look at it. So these are the two methods at which we say configure. We can fetch the data using fetch and providing a request. The fetch method will return the promise that resolves a response object that has a number of methods including test.json. Is to read response stream. This method returns a promise that will resolve into an object. So this first method will return can be resolved into a text something, and the second method can be resolved into a JSON. So if you see here, fetch my request.then function response and this response.json. So what happens is that we need to return that data from that particular one and then receive that data. So you see here, let me just do that. So rather than just converting it over here, what I'll do, for example, let's return data.json. Right. So I'm returning that data.json over here, and I need another then over here now. Then function and data1, for example, just receiving it over here. Console.log, and now if I print data1, what should it print? See here. You see, this is now our data, which has like all the records in it, which were sent by that file. Right. So what we do is that basically we process that data and we convert that data into JSON and then convert it to then send it to another then, and this then receives that data into a variable, and then we can just display that data over here. Right. So this is another promise that brings up the data for us. So what you can do today is that basically just look at these all functions that we have been used. Right. So fetch API compressed, how we can use those arrow functions in that as well. These are the arrow functions, and this is the request.api users that I have used. This is the same user, and then there is an error status as well. We can talk about. This is the JSON introduction. We have talked already about this JSON. That what is the JSON data and how we can convert. So there are multiple ways. JSON.parts, take it to the like JSON normal object, and stringify, convert it into the JSON. So you can send the JSON, like convert objects to the JSON, and you can convert JSON to an object, right? And we can always respond with the JSON data. If you want to send that data, we can just respond to. So we are converting that into JSON and just, you know, and printing that, sending that message. So this is all related to that one. So you can just do a quick practice for that. All those functions, these are very interesting one. These, it has covered all most of the our, you know, express functions that we have. It will just you know, mention all those API/users, users to whatever, put and delete, all those methods that we have in our armory. Those all methods are used in this example. So you can always work on that. And there is a function which have been called on that one. So what I would like you people to have a quick review of these notes for this week. And then what I'll do is that I'll just, you know, take it from here, and we'll discuss in our next class. This next class might be again an asynchronous class. I might share a video with you, but anyhow, this is the part that we have discussed today, and we have reached to this particular point. Any questions thus far? Silence means no question, or silence means a number of questions, or silence means maybe that only me and you are remaining here, Alex. I don't know. Oh no, we have got all 4 participants. Okay. Yeah. So thank you very much, Armin, for the reply. So let's meet now on Tuesday, and we will have 2, as you said, 2 evaluations. Number 1, there will be quiz, a like test, and by that time I'll definitely come up with maybe a test like assignment 2 and 3. I think those who are ungraded, I'll try to just grade them by this weekend, and you'll definitely get the result by our next class, Tuesday. Having said that, thank you very much, and let's meet on Tuesday now. Thank you, Armin. Thank you very much. Alex, thank you. Bye.